Hi, you see someone across the room. Your brain does something weird. Heart rate spikes. Palms get slightly damp. You say something that made total sense in your head and lands completely wrong out loud. Sound familiar? That's lust. And no, it's not magic. It's not fate. It's not the universe sending you a sign. It's a very old, very well-documented neurochemical process that evolution spent millions of years fine-tuning. Let's actually understand what's happening. First, what is lust? Technically, it's intense sexual desire, a drive, not an emotion. Emotions are responses to situations. Drives are motivational states pushing you toward a goal. Hunger is a drive. Thirst is a drive. Lust sits in that same category, a powerful biological pressure-pushing behavior in a specific direction. That direction being, bluntly, reproduction. Lust doesn't care about your personality or your 5-year plan. Lust has one agenda and it's ancient. How ancient? Older than humans by a very long margin. Every sexually reproducing species has some version of this system because without it, nobody mates, nobody reproduces, and the species dies in one generation. Evolution doesn't tolerate that. So over millions of years it built a system that makes sexual pursuit feel urgently rewarding and made ignoring that urge feel genuinely uncomfortable. That tension you feel? That's by design. Okay. The brain. Let's go there. The whole system starts with hormones. The two leads, testosterone and estrogen. Both present in both sexes, just in different ratios. Testosterone is the primary driver of sexual desire in humans regardless of gender. It directly increases libido. Women have much less of it than men, but it's still the main hormone governing female desire too. Estrogen modulates the sensitivity of brain regions involved in attraction, also affects things like sense perception and how others perceive you. Progesterone, interestingly, tends to suppress desire, which is why libido fluctuates across the menstrual cycle and drops significantly during pregnancy. These hormones don't cause lust directly. They prime the system. They set the sensitivity level. Think of them as turning up the volume on a speaker. The actual music, the experience of desire, happens when the right stimulus arrives and the brain starts firing. Enter dopamine. This is the big one. Dopamine is the brain's reward and motivation chemical. It doesn't actually mean pleasure. It means this is worth pursuing. It's the anticipation signal, the hunger for more. When you encounter someone you're attracted to, the ventral tegmental area of your brain, a tiny region deep in the midbrain, starts pumping dopamine into the nucleus accumbens, which is your brain's reward hub. The same circuit that lights up for food, for drugs, for winning. Lust hijacks one of your brain's most powerful motivational systems. This is why attraction feels urgent and slightly irrational. Your reward pathway is screaming pursue this and it's not being subtle about it. Then norepinephrine kicks in. Heart beats faster. Blood pressure rises. Pupils dilate slightly. Your palms sweat. Your face might flush. You are, technically, in a mild stress response. Fight or flight, but romantically redirected. Your body is preparing for action in the oldest sense of the word. This is also why nervousness and attraction feel physically similar, because neurologically, they almost are. Serotonin drops. This one is important and underappreciated. Serotonin is linked to mood stability and, critically, the ability to not fixate on things. Lower serotonin is associated with obsessive-compulsive patterns, looping thoughts, intrusive thinking, inability to let go of an idea. Early-stage attraction consistently shows decreased serotonin levels. This is why you can't stop thinking about someone. Your brain isn't weak. Your brain is running on lowered serotonin and it is doing exactly what lowered serotonin does. Loops, repeats, returns. It's almost OCD-like in its mechanism. And studies comparing the two have found genuinely similar neurochemical profiles. There is also a role for endorphins and a small but real contribution from phenylethylamine, a compound that produces that buzzy, slightly euphoric feeling of early attraction, sometimes called the love chemical in pop science. It's the same compound found in chocolate, which is why chocolate became romantic shorthand for desire. It's not as potent as actual hormones, but it adds to the cocktail. Now, what triggers this whole cascade in the first place? Some triggers are universal, cutting across cultures with impressive consistency. facial symmetry is one of the most robust attractors ever studied. Symmetric faces are preferred everywhere because symmetry during development signals genetic health and resistance to disease. Clear skin, good posture, healthy hair, same logic, different signal. They all say this organism developed without major stressors. In men, broader shoulders and lower waist-to-hip ratios signal high testosterone and physical capacity. In women, certain waist-to-hip ratios consistently attract across cultures regardless of total body size, signaling reproductive capacity. Voice pitch matters. Lower voices in men signal higher testosterone. Higher voices in women signal higher estrogen. Height in men. Movement and gait. These are hardwired pattern recognition shortcuts, running constantly and mostly below conscious awareness. Smell deserves its own paragraph. Human attraction is massively influenced by scent in ways most people genuinely don't realize. The main mechanism, the MHC complex, major histocompatibility complex, a group of genes related to immune function. People are more attracted to the scent of individuals whose MHC profile is different from their own. Why? Because MHC-diverse offspring have stronger, broader immune systems. You are sniffing out genetic compatibility without knowing you're doing it. Studies had people smell worn t-shirts and rate attractiveness consistently. People preferred the smell of MHC to similar strangers. This also explains a real and documented phenomenon. Some people on hormonal birth control report that their preferences shift when they stop taking it, because hormonal contraceptives can alter scent perception and MHC sensitivity. The person you were attracted to while on the pill might smell subtly different to you when you ray off it. Biology is occasionally inconvenient. Then there's context, which messes with everything. Misattribution of arousal is a real, well-replicated phenomenon. Your brain can confuse the source of physical excitement. If something else raises your heart rate, a scary movie, a roller coaster, even intense exercise, your brain sometimes attributes part of that arousal to the person you're with. The classic study, people who had just crossed a shaky, frightening suspension bridge over a gorge rated a researcher as significantly more attractive than people who had crossed a stable, boring bridge. Same researcher, different bridge. Your nervous system is not always precise about what exactly it's excited about. Use this information however you choose. Now let's talk about the lust-love distinction, because people confuse them constantly. Lust and love activate different, though overlapping, brain systems. Lust is primarily driven by the reward, motivation circuit, fast, primal, focused on the target. Romantic love activates that circuit too, but additionally recruits areas tied to attachment, long-term thinking, and even pain modulation. People in love show reduced pain sensitivity. Love literally dulls pain a little. Lust does not care about your pain in any way. The key chemical difference: lust runs on dopamine and sex hormones. Attachment, what comes after lust, what love is built from, runs on oxytocin and vasopressin. Oxytocin is released during physical touch, sex, eye contact, and bonding experiences. It builds feelings of trust, warmth, and connection. Vasopressin is linked to long-term pair bonding in humans and is the reason deep attachment feels different from initial desire, calmer, more secure, but just as powerful in its own way. Prairie voles, which are famously monogamous among rodents, have dense vasopressin receptors in reward areas of the brain. Meadow voles, which are not monogamous, don't. When scientists gave meadow voles more vasopressin receptors through genetic modification, they became significantly more attached to mates. The molecule of commitment. The Coolidge effect. Named after a possibly apocryphal story about President Calvin Coolidge visiting a farm, when told a rooster mated many times a day misses. Coolidge reportedly said tell that to the president, and when told, the president reportedly asked same hen every time? No, said the farmer, tell that to Mrs. Coolidge. Whether or not the story is true, the effect is real and documented across most mammals. Sexual interest spikes reliably in response to a novel partner, regardless of satisfaction with the current one. It's a dopamine novelty response. New potential partner, new dopamine spike. Evolution incentivizes genetic diversity. This does not justify anything. It's just how the system is built. Lust also fades. Always, eventually. That dopaminergic rush of initial attraction can't sustain itself. The brain adapts, the signal normalizes, the novelty dulls. Research suggests the intense early phase of desire peaks around 6 to 18 months and then shifts. This is not failure. This is not falling out of love. It's the neurochemical transition from lust to attachment. The cocktail changes. What's left, if you build something real, runs on different, quieter, more durable chemicals. One final thing, lust is not inherently shallow or bad or something to be ashamed of. It is one of the oldest, most fundamental biological drives you have. It keeps the species going. It's the beginning of most human bonds that matter. It becomes a problem only when it overrides judgment, consent, or commitment, which is a human problem, not a chemistry problem. The chemistry is just doing its job. Lust gets you in the door. Everything that follows is yours to figure out. Anyway, all this knowledge is going to cost you one subscribe and a thumbs up. Thank you very much. And you can decide if maybe you'd want to tip with a comment, perhaps.